This chart compares the estimated annual working hours of a 14th century medieval peasant against a modern professional. The modern worker consistently puts in more hours. We tend to view the unbroken 52-week, year-round grind as the default state of human existence. We contrast that with our popular image of the medieval past, an exhausting, mud-covered reality of unwashed misery from birth to an early death. But if their schedule wasn't a 365-day slog through the dirt, what did the actual rhythm of their year look like? We have projected our industrial, clock-punching concept of time backward onto a society that operated on an entirely different rhythm of existence. The agrarian landscape dictated the pace of life. The labor required to survive was brutally difficult. Sowing, plowing, and harvesting were done entirely by hand or with draft animals, stretching from the moment the sun came up until the light finally gave out. Those physical demands were strictly dictated by the weather. The work arrived in intense concentrated bursts rather than an unending daily grind. This circular graphic represents a full medieval calendar year. Highlighted segments represent Sundays, holy days, and feast days where the church forbade fieldwork. Adding up these mandated rest days reveals a peasant had nearly a third of the year off. The agrarian cycle enforced an equilibrium. Intense exertion in the fields was balanced by long periods of dormancy where the land simply didn't need them. Within that seasonal rhythm, daily routines in medieval towns and homes followed a highly specific logic. Take the myth of the unwashed peasant. Across Europe, ordinary commoners regularly used public bathhouses, heated by large wood fires and filled with hot water. Their diet was equally practical. Meals were built around coarse, dense bread and pottage, a thick stew of vegetables and grains kept simmering over the fire for days. Meat was a rarity, reserved mostly for feast days. The genuine daily hazard was hydration. Town wells and nearby streams were highly unreliable and frequently contaminated by runoff. Through trial and error, they developed a solution. Boiling water into a weak, low-alcohol ale killed the pathogens that plain water harbored, creating the safest daily drink for men, women, and children. Even local justice was managed by the community. Manor courts allowed neighbors to settle property lines and debts directly, bypassing distant lords. These habits form a highly calibrated, community-driven system designed for survival in an unforgiving environment. The actual vulnerability of the era lived in the streets. Chamber pots were emptied into open ditches, and cesspits were dug too close to water sources, creating an environment where pathogens could easily spread. In the middle of the 14th century, a disease exploited those exact conditions. This map tracks the arrival of the Black Death. Within a few years, the plague killed between 30% and 60% of the entire European population, triggering the massive population drop you see on this graph. The seasonal rhythm completely stalled out. Entire villages emptied, and fields went unplowed because there was no one left alive to work the land. This sudden, massive scarcity of labor handed the surviving peasants an economic tool they had never possessed before: leverage. They used that scarcity to negotiate actual wages, secure better working terms, and break free from the ancestral obligations that had bound their families to specific manors for generations. The medieval peasant lived under strict constraints and faced sudden, catastrophic tragedies, but they also relied on a deep connection to their community, a logical rhythm of survival, and a hard-won balance between labor and rest that modern life has largely left behind.